Hey guys, it's Christian. This is going to be an update video from a video I did previously called What Marvel Phase 5 Needs to Do. And since so much new information has come out for Marvel Phase 5 and for Phase 6, I thought this would be the perfect time to do an update video for it. So for this video, I'll be going through all the upcoming Marvel movies for Marvel Phase 5 and 6, and going through all the different news that's been going on for the individual movies and TV shows, and give my thoughts on them and how they can fit into the continuity that was established in the Infinity Saga, just so that we don't have the convoluted storytelling that we had in Marvel Phase 4 and a little bit in Phase 5. So without further ado, let's jump in. So first up, we have Agatha All Along, and I think one of the biggest updates with this one is the title Agatha All Along. I know back in the day it was called Agatha House of Harkness, and then it was Agatha Coven of Chaos, and then it was Agatha the Darkhold Diaries, and then it was actually the Lion Witch with the Great Wardrobe, and then finally we got the title Agatha All Along, which is a reference to one of the songs in WandaVision, where we realized that all this manipulation that Wanda was having in Westview was because it was Agatha All Along. So I thought that was a pretty funny reference. And we actually got the full official synopsis. It looks like it's going to be Agatha being woken up from the spell that Wanda put on her at the end of WandaVision by a new character named Billy, and there's speculation that he's supposed to be the reincarnation of Wanda's son, who will eventually become Wiccan in the comic books. So I think that'd be really cool if that actually comes to fruition. But back to the synopsis, it looks like after Agatha is reawoken from the spell that she was put on, that she and Billy team up with each other, and they try to go down the witch's road in order to find a way for Agatha to regain her powers again. But they're not able to do alone, so they actually have to form a coven of witches. And that's where we get to more of the casting announcements. We have Shashir Zamata as Jennifer Kale. We have Ali Ann as Alice Wu Gulliver. We have Deborah Jo Rupp as Sharon Davis. And speaking of which, it seems that in this show it's going to be revealed that she's a witch. And there's theories that there actually might be more witches within the Westview community, and that Wanda was somehow drawn into Westview because of all the witches' power. And we also have Aubrey Plaza as a witch character named Rio Vidal. And I'm not sure if she's going to be part of Agatha's coven. I think she's just going to be this sort of inner demon character for Agatha to make her lean more towards the dark side. We also have another actor named Milo Gutierrez Riley, who's been casted as Billy's boyfriend. And then we have a couple of other actors who've been casted in undisclosed roles. Maria Dizia, Paul Adelstein, Akwi Akpak Wasili. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. We also got news that the show's being produced under the Marvel Television banner. And Brad Witterbaum, the head of television streaming and animation, said that he wanted to differentiate Marvel Studios from Marvel Television so that people don't feel obligated to watch every single thing within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I actually think this is like a good thing, because after a while it started to kind of get overwhelming, the fact that there are just so many titles within the Multiverse Saga that it just got hard to keep track of anything. So I'm glad they have like these different banners that they're doing, like Marvel Studios, Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, and then Marvel Presents, kind of like what Echo was. We also got a release date. It's going to be September 18th with 2 episodes, and after that we'll get weekly episodes until November 6th. So it looks like they're definitely going to tie into the Halloween season, which totally makes sense since it's a show about witches. And of course we got a brand new trailer which looks epic and amazing. It definitely ties into the premise of Agatha seemingly being in this kind of procedural drama where she's like a detective, and then she sees the dead body of Wanda, and then when she takes it back to the morgue, she bumps into Aubrey Plaza's character, and then she kind of inspires her to be awakened from this fantasy, and then we flash all these images, and then she finally gets to her Agnes form of the 1950s version of Agatha from WandaVision. So I thought that was really cool. And then we definitely get, you know, the building of the team of the different witches that are going to be in this coven. You know, we get more of Lilith Calderu, and we get more of the other witches, more of Billy and all the other witches in the coven. It just looks wild and crazy. So yeah, it'll definitely be a really cool show, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I really loved WandaVision when it came out, and Kathryn Hahn as Agatha was really cool. You know, it was definitely a bummer when, you know, she had to be put into a spell to become the nosy neighbor again, but I'm glad that we're finally getting more of a payoff from that cliffhanger that we got, and that Agatha will come back into the MCU. And yeah, we'll see what she does by the end of it. Is she going to be a villain towards the end, or is she going to be redeemed in a way and then rejoin the Avengers, you know, as they fight in the Secret Wars? But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We also got a bunch of new updates from D23, including a brand new poster and a brand new trailer. And I actually really like the trailer. I think it really kind of explains more of the premise about Agatha losing her powers and all the turmoil that she's feeling after she's been kind of lifted from the spell by Billy. And, you know, it really shows the journey that she has to go on down the witch's road, and recruiting all these different witches and creating her own different coven of all these, different misfit witches. You know, you really get a sense of like the different personalities of the characters, and you really get the sense of the determination that Agatha feels trying to get to the end of this witch's road and go through all the trials and eventually get her powers back. So yeah, I'm actually really excited about this show. It looks really, really cool, you know, spooky, and, you know, just really fun filled, and a lot of like dark twisted humor in it too. And Aubrey Plaza, seemingly kind of like this shady character, like you don't really know like what her true intentions are. So I'm glad that we got more of her in it. So I think that looks really cool. Definitely got more of Billy, more of him being kind of like this mentee to Agatha, and I feel like he's gonna be kind of like the moral center to her, and it's gonna be kind of like a tug of war with Agatha in the middle between him and Aubrey Plaza's character. So I think that could be really cool as well. But yeah, lots of like great visuals, great scares. I think, yeah, it's just gonna be a good series overall. And I think the song at the end was really cool. The whole Witch's Road song was really fun. Kind of reminded me of the Misty Mountain song from the Hobbit movies. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited about this series, and yeah, I think it could be really good. All right, now we move on to Eyes of Wakanda. And with this show, it's going to be about Wakandan warriors throughout history who go to different parts of the world and try to find vibranium artifacts. So I think that could be really cool. You know, different like side adventure. I know this is also going to be under the Marvel television animation banner. You know, something that doesn't have to necessarily tie into the larger MCU, but can be a little side adventure within the Marvel Cinematic Universe and kind of tell more of the stories that we didn't really get when we were watching Black Panther about, you know, different warriors and the war dogs and, you know, finding vibranium artifacts and stuff like that. So I think it'd be really cool. And the show's created by Todd Harris, and he was originally a storyboard artist on a couple previous Marvel television shows. And on this project, he's also going to be a director, and he's going to be collaborating with Ryan Coogler's company called Proximity Media. So I think that'd be really cool, the fact that Ryan Coogler is on this project as well. You know, I'm not sure how involved he is in it. Probably more of like an executive producer role, probably just like overseeing things and, you know, just making sure that things are, you know, within the tone that he set with those first two Black Panther movies. But who knows? Yeah, maybe he'll be like super involved in it. Maybe he'll direct an episode or something. But yeah, I'm really excited that he's on board. You know, he's the one who kind of started everything with Black Panther, so it makes sense that he's on board with the show. So I'm excited to see the input that he has within it. And then it's scheduled to release sometime in 2024. I'm guessing it'll probably be like December or something. Maybe this will be like a Christmas show, since the next show we'll be talking about is supposedly coming out in November. And then Agatha All Along is supposed to wrap up in early November. So I'm guessing the next show that I'll be saying will be mid-November, and then maybe this will be like early mid-December, maybe like in time for Christmas. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for Eyes of Wakanda, and I think it could be a really cool show. And we also got a couple updates from the D23 Expo. So it sounds like it's going to be more of like an anthology series, and there's going to be kind of more of like a 2D animation style, which would be really cool. Kind of more inspired by classic African illustrations. And looks like there's going to be about 4 episodes with it. So I think that'll be really cool. And it's definitely confirmed that it's going to explore more of the war dog culture for the Wakandans. And it's going to center around a character named Noni and how she's supposed to be a disruptor for the Wakandan culture. So she goes into different societies and tries to take down the structure in order to find all these vibranium artifacts. So I think that'd be really cool. Kind of maybe see what N'Jobu was from the Black Panther series. So I'm really excited to see that. And the footage seemed to describe that there's going to be antagonists who are described as having glowing fists. So it looks like we're going to have more of Iron Fist in there. So it'd be really cool to have a redemption for that character and for that whole culture that was established in that series. So yeah, I'm glad we're getting more information about it. And it looks like it's also going to be part of the MCU canon. So it looks like we'll get more backstory about the war dogs. And who knows, maybe Noni will appear in Doomsday or Secret Wars. So yeah, all these different developments are definitely making me more excited about the series. And yeah, I'm excited for when it finally comes out. All right, now we move on to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And yeah, I think this could be a really cool show. The official premise is that it's supposed to be an alternate reality of the MCU. This isn't supposed to be the 616 universe version of Peter Parker. This is an alternate reality version of Peter Parker. And it's supposed to tell more of his origin story, which we didn't get with Tom Holland's Peter Parker. We kind of just skipped the origin story and then went straight into his first appearance in Civil War, where he's already had his powers for a year or so and is being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man before he gets recruited by Tony Stark. And in this version, it's supposed to be, instead of Tony Stark being his mentor, it's actually Norman Osborn as his mentor. So I think that'll be a really cool twist with all that. We haven't really seen Norman Osborn at all in the MCU. I know we got him in Spider-Man No Way Home with Willem Dafoe playing him again, but I know that was from the Tobey Maguire version of it. So we haven't really seen an MCU version of Norman Osborn. Even if it is animation, I think that's fine. Speaking of which, the series style is supposed to celebrate and pay homage to the original Spider-Man comic books back in the 1960s. So I think that's really cool. You know, there's been like photos that they shared at different expos and different cons and everything like that, showing the different characters, and definitely feels more like a 1960s animation style. And it's created by Jeff Trammell, and he's going to serve as the head writer and executive producer on the show. I know he's worked on a lot of other animated shows like Craig the Creek, so I think that can bring like a really fun aspect to this new Spider-Man show. And then as far as casting announcements, we have Hudson Thames as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and he actually played Spider-Man in the What If version of the character. We have Eugene Bird as Lonnie Lincoln, Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock / Daredevil, so I think that could be really cool. I know we got that tie-in again in No Way Home with Matt Murdock in that movie playing a lawyer for Peter Parker, tying that in. I'm not sure how much he's going to be in it, but hopefully we get a decent amount of him. You know, I know he's going to pop up more again in Daredevil Born Again, which we'll get to in a second, but yeah, it'd be really cool to see an animated version of Daredevil. We also have Hugh Dancy as Otto Octavius. Again, you know, we got him in No Way Home, but yeah, it'd be cool again to see an animated version of Otto Octavius. And I know they're gonna stick with the more comic accurate version of Otto Octavius, you know, like the yellow and the green suit and everything and the sunglasses. Carrie Waldron as Aunt May, Zena Robinson as Harry Osborn. And again, we haven't seen Harry Osborn in this version of the MCU, and we didn't see him also in No Way Home. So it'd be cool to see like what they're gonna be doing with Norman Osborn, and then what the dynamic's gonna be once Peter Parker finds out that Norman Osborn is his mentor, sure. Are they going to kind of have the dynamic that they had with, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man or with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, where they're kind of like friends, but also kind of like enemies at the same time, where they just gonna become friends? I think that'd be a really cool premise for a show as well. Great song is Miko Minoru from Runaways. And I haven't seen Runaways, but I heard it's actually, a pretty good show. So it'd be cool to see that character from that show brought within the MCU again, just to kind of create more of this continuity. Because I know it's been kind of a theme that's been going on with Marvel Phases 5 and 6, is that Marvel's now reacquiring all these different characters that they had to sell off back in the day to the different movie studios. So it's cool to see like all these different Fox characters, Sony characters, Hulu characters, back within the MCU, and Netflix characters, with Matt Murdock, and we'll get more to that with Daredevil Born Again. So yeah, it's cool to see these characters just brought within one universe, and yeah, just have more of that continuity and connection. And Paul F. Tompkins as Bentley Whitman, and supposedly you're supposed to get a bunch of other characters as well, including Doctor Strange, Amadeus Cho, Pearl Penguin, Jean Folkholt, Matt Gargan/Scorpion, Unicorn, Chameleon, Speed Demon, Tarantula, Rhino, Carmella Black, and Butane. And again, it's really cool to see these different characters that we've seen in different movies from the MCU in this kind of 1960s version, and seeing characters that we really haven't seen in the MCU, or just characters that we may have seen from like other different movies but not really comic accurate. So it'd be really cool to see like what becomes of them in this show. And then at San Diego Comic-Con in 2022, we got a bunch of different suits that were revealed for Spider-Man, including a homemade suit, kind of like what we saw in a brief glimpse in Civil War and then in Spider-Man Homecoming. And then apparently there's like a black suit and a Beetle suit and like all these different suits that we'll have showing Peter Parker's progression until he gets into the classic red and blue suit. And it's supposed to schedule to release sometime in 2024, and there's rumors that it might come out sometime in November, so we'll see how that goes with that. And apparently we're supposed to get a second season as well called Spider-Man Sophomore Year, so we'll see how it goes with that. I know the original title for the show was supposed to be Spider-Man Freshman Year, and they changed it to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, so we'll see if they stick with that theme of the different years within high school for the second season. But yeah, I mean, maybe it'll just be called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2, but I guess we'll see what happens when that season actually gets finished and developed. But yeah, overall, I love Spider-Man. I think it'd be really cool to see an alternate version of Spider-Man within the MCU, and yeah, see all the different conflicts that he has with Norman Osborn and all these different characters and all these different villains that he faces. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and we'll see how it goes. And we also got a bunch of new updates from the D23 Expo. It looks like there was a lot of footage shown of how Peter Parker was actually bit by the radioactive spider. It looks like it starts off with Peter Parker going to his first day of school, and then he meets with the character of Nico, and as he's talking with her, suddenly a portal opens up and Doctor Strange comes blasting out, fighting a version of the symbiote which has a resemblance to Venom, so I think that'd be really cool. And apparently a spider from that dimension comes through the portal and then bites Peter, and then that's when he gets his powers. And another clip of the footage shows a relationship between Peter Parker and Norman Osborn, his new mentor. And Norman Osborn is going to be played by an actor named Coleman Domingo, and it looks like from the illustrations that Norman Osborn is actually going to be African American, as well as Harry Osborn. And it's cool that these two characters are played by African American actors, so I think that's really cool. Just get more diversity into the Peter Parker universe, and the fact that the creator is African American as well, it's really cool to see that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse influence on it. And apparently after the first clip of footage, they started playing the classic Spider-Man theme song, and then it kind of changed into like a rap song, so it's cool to see that influence there. And then going back to the second clip, it looks like Peter Parker is finally donning an early version of the Spider-Man suit, and he's going on different missions to fight all these different villains and all these different thugs, and Norman Osborn's being his man in the chair, so to speak. So I think that's really cool, kind of like a reference to how Ned was in the Spider-Man Home trilogy, especially in Spider-Man Homecoming, so I think that's really funny. But yeah, just seeing all these different updates and announcements and hearing the description of all this footage that's happening gets me really excited. And kind of like I was saying with As Wakanda, hopefully we'll get trailers soon, because I think these shows are supposed to start premiering like the fall and the winter, so hopefully we'll get that soon, and we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, overall really excited. All right, now we'll move on to Captain America Brave New World, and we got an official synopsis that's been released. It's supposed to be that Sam Wilson finds himself in the middle of an international incident, and he has to stop the troop brains behind it. Yeah, which totally makes sense. Speaking of which, we got a brand new trailer as well, showcasing Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, and I think it's really funny that they have that line of like Sam saying to Thaddeus like, "Oh, you look different," and then Thaddeus saying like, "Oh, it's either I lose the mustache or I lose the campaign." So no little reference to the fact that William Hurt was replaced by Harrison Ford, since William Hurt unfortunately passed away back in 2022. But I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I love Harrison Ford. It's really cool seeing him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, I think that's really exciting. But yeah, in the trailer, Ross is running for president, and then during one of his speeches in the White House, Isaiah Bradley listens to music, and then he's suddenly awakened. He's like a sleeper agent, kind of like how Winter Soldier was in Civil War. And then he attempts to assassinate Ross. So now there's this whole conspiracy about like, how is Isaiah Bradley activated? Who's behind all this? And then, we get more teases of the leader, played by Tim Blake Nelson, with his really cool hat and everything, and all of his cool voiceover. So we'll see how that goes. And then also, speaking of which, we got the reveal that Giancarlo Esposito is going to be in the movie as well, playing a villain, of course. And then we also also got the reveal at San Diego Comic-Con this past July that he's going to be playing the character Sidewinder, and that Sidewinder is the king of the Serpent Society, which is kind of like a callback to that Marvel presentation, you know, way back in the day where Kevin Feige was announcing Phase 3, and that he had the title for Captain America 3 subtitled as the Serpent Society, and then, you know, he erased that, and then it was Civil War. So I'm sure they always had this idea, you know, way back in the day, and then now that there's going to be a new Captain America movie, you know, they can finally have that idea in fruition. You know, I'm not really familiar with the whole Serpent Society storyline, but, you know, I love Giancarlo Esposito and like literally everything that he's in, you know, Breaking Bad, Mandalorian, The Boys, you know, every time he plays a villain is like super amazing. So yeah, I'm really excited to see him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a villain. So I think that'd be really cool. So we'll see what capacity he plays. Is he going to really be the brains of the operation, or is it going to be a leader who's behind everything? But I guess that kind of leads into our next thing, is about the whole thing with the reshoots and how they got a writer named Matthew Orton to rewrite page of the script, because I know during official production, like once they started editing it together, Marvel was just saying that it just wasn't really working. So they planned to have a bunch of different rewrites and reshoots, and you know, that's when it got revealed that Giancarlo Esposito was brought onto the production. But yeah, I'm sure maybe like the leader wasn't working as well, so they had to bring in Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder to kind of punch it up a little bit more. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I love the trailer, it looks really cool. You know, I know that they were trying to really emulate what they did with Winter Soldier, with the whole kind of like political thriller and everything like that, which is definitely is, you know, with presidential assassination attempt and everything like that. You know, and I think it's also funny that Harrison Ford is also playing a president again, because I know he played a president in Air Force One, so I wonder if he'll say a line like, "Get off my plane," or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, then also, you know, we got the reveal that Red Hulk's gonna be in the movie, and you know, we got that little glimpse at the end of, you know, Red Hulk grabbing Captain America's shield and slamming it onto the ground. And then we also got a new poster with Red Hulk's hand around the shield. So I think that could be really cool, you know, see how Red Hulk ties into this movie, and you know, did he become Red Hulk voluntarily, or was this, you know, thrusted upon him or something like that? I know there's a bunch of different theories about like why he becomes Red Hulk. You know, maybe it has something to do with Betty Ross or something, because I know Liv Tyler's going to be in it. So we'll see how that all shakes up. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. And then we also got some updated casting announcements. Shira Haas will be playing Ruth Bat Shivroth, and she was a former Israeli Black Widow and is also a high-ranking US official who's close with Ross. So I think that could be really cool. We also have an actress named Jaja Ruckmore who's playing a Secret Service agent, and we saw her in the trailer. There's a really cool shot of her, you know, holding a gun with Ruth, and they're going down a hallway. And then we have another actor named Takahiro Hiro who's playing Prime Minister Ozaki, and I know that's another storyline that's going to be brought up in this, you know, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I know there's going to be some conflict between, you know, the different world leaders over the fact that the frozen body of Tiamat the Celestial from Eternals is kind of rising up out of the ocean. And also gets revealed that Tiamat is actually made of adamantium, which is the indestructible metal that's within Wolverine. So that's kind of like the MCU tying in the mutants a little bit more, you know, especially since we had Deadpool and Wolverine come out this past summer. It's going to be cool to see more integration of the mutant characters within the MCU. And I'm also glad they're finally addressing this kind of event that happened in Eternals, because I know we got a little Easter egg in She-Hulk, you know, a little line that Jennifer was looking at on her computer, you know, kind of a blink and you miss it kind of thing. So I'm glad they're finally addressing it, and we have kind of like a whole conflict centered around this event. So we'll see how that goes. And then we have other actors named Seth Rollins and Rosa Salazar in undisclosed roles. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited. This is kind of like the official film where it seems like Marvel is kind of at a turning point where they're trying to really make things good. You know, they're not just kind of like, you know, what they did with Phase 4, they're just like pushing stuff out, you know, without really quality controlling or anything like that. They're really kind of like slowing down, like looking at what they're doing, assessing it, and then saying, okay, we need to do like some reshoots, some rewrites to make it better. So hopefully this will be part of the upswing for Marvel. I know we had Deadpool and Wolverine, but I feel like that was more like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman kind of doing their own thing, you know, within the Marvel sandbox. And now this is really kind of like Marvel's time to step up to the plate and make something really good. So I think they can do that. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. We also got a bunch of new stuff from the D23 Expo, including Sam Wilson in his new Captain America uniform. And they also played a clip, which hasn't been shown to the audience. So unfortunately I wasn't able to see it, but there have been some descriptions online saying that it's about President Ross giving an address at the White House. And he's talking about the remains of Tiamat and that they need to mine the resources in order to obtain the adamantium. So it's cool that the adamantium is actually finally confirmed, and we're finally getting confirmation that we're getting mutants within the MCU. So that's really exciting. And then to top it all off, the clip ended with Ross hulking out into the Red Hulk. So it's really cool to see Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk and, you know, get a full-on view of him and everything, looking really epic and amazing. So yeah, it just gets me more excited about the movie. Hopefully we'll get a new trailer soon, probably sometime toward the end of the year. And yeah, we can get more hyped up for this movie and just get more information about what the story's about. And yeah, it should be really exciting. All right, now we move on to Daredevil Born Again. And we got an official synopsis that's been released. It's supposed to be about Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk trying to work together in order to help the people of New York. But, you know, slowly but surely their pasts come to haunt them again. And I think the main main thing with this one is that Brad Winterbaum said officially that the first 3 seasons of the Netflix version of Daredevil are going to be part of the MCU canon. So it's not going to be a complete reboot of the Daredevil character. This will be more of like a continuation from the Netflix series. I mean, obviously it still has that kind of Marvel tone to it, but they're kind of leaning more towards what the Netflix series was going for. And then, speaking of which, jumping ahead again, we got a bunch of cast members from the original Daredevil series coming back into this new series. Deborah Ann Wool as Karen Page, Eldon Henson as Foggy Nelson, Wilson Bethel as Bullseye, and Ayelet Zerur as Vanessa. So I think that could be really cool because I know that they were originally filming last year, back in March, and it was supposed to go on for a couple months, but then because of the writer's strike got shut down. And then, once the writer's strike was over and they were able to watch the footage over and, start editing together, Kevin Feige and Brad Winterbaum were just kind of watching it and we're just realizing that it wasn't really what they were wanting it to be. It was more like a procedural drama, and Daredevil didn't suit up until like episode 4. So, they fired those original showrunners and they got new showrunners. They got a showrunner named Dario Scardapane, who worked on the Netflix version of Punisher, and then Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who worked on a couple other Marvel shows, to serve as directors, which I think is a really good choice. I think they didn't want to isolate the fans of the original Netflix version, and they kind of wanted to have those original Netflix fans, which I'm a fan of, be included in this series, and then also introduce new fans to the show. So I think that was a really good choice. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes once it finally gets released. It's supposed to come out in March of next year, and there's supposed to be 18 episodes, and they're supposed to be divided into 9 episode halves. So I think we'll probably get the first chunk in March, and then maybe like later in the year or even the next year we'll get the other 9 episodes. So I think that's really, really cool, just because I think 18 is just a lot for one series. So I think they're kind of leaning more into like the 13 episode structure that was in more of the Netflix versions, and make it more like a series instead of just like one big 9-hour movie. Because I know that was a problem that they were having with the other television series, is that it just felt like one long movie, and they were just having executive producers over the show and everything like that, instead of having like a showrunner and actual television writers, to make it more like serialized television rather than just like one big movie, cut up into like 6 episodes or 8 episodes or whatever it might be. So I think that retooling that Brad Winterbaum and Marvel Television are doing, moving forward is actually a really good thing, and that'll definitely help the series that are coming out moving forward. So yeah, I'm really excited for the future of that. And then also with this one, Wilson Fisk will be running for mayor, and that's supposed to be, based on one of the storylines from the comic books, which I'm not familiar with, but I think it's an obvious choice. I know there was a cliffhanger at the end of Echo, kind of like a post-credit scene of Wilson Fisk kind of like licking his wounds after his battle with Echo, kind of mind altering him and everything like that, re-experiencing his childhood trauma. And, he's like looking at the screen, how New York's in need of someone who like fight criminals and everything like that, someone who would, be a leader in that aspect. So, that kind of gets like the light bulb going off in his head for him to run for mayor. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm sure like as he's trying to like run for mayor and everything like that, Daredevil is going to be trying to, expose him for criminal that he really is. And then I know Punisher's supposed to be in it too. And there's supposed to be a couple of characters who represent the police force. The actor Jeremy Earl is playing a character named Cole North, who's supposed to be the head of the police force. And him and Wilson Fisk are trying to team up in order to get rid of all vigilantes within New York City, including Daredevil and Punisher. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think that'll be a really interesting dynamic. And then we also got some other casting announcements. Margarita Laviva will be playing Heather Glenn, and she's supposed to be a love interest to Matt Murdock. Michael Gandolfini as David Blade. Jania Walton as Bibi Urich, and she's supposed to be a young journalist. Artie Frashon as Buck Cashman, and Lou Taylor Pusey, who's been cast in an undisclosed role. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited about Daredevil Born Again, especially the fact that they had this kind of creative overhaul in order to make it lean more towards the Netflix version of Daredevil, and the fact that the Netflix version of Daredevil is now MCU canon, I think is really cool. And the fact that they're bringing all these cast members from that show into the series, and they're leaning more towards the tone of that show, I think is a really good choice. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. And we got a bunch of new stuff for Daredevil Born Again at the D23 Expo, including a brand new logo, which looks really cool. Kind of really fits the dark tone that they were setting with the Netflix series. We also got a brand new image of the Punisher in his classic uniform, which looks really cool. And we also got confirmation that season 2 is actually filming right now. So it looks like they're really confident with what they have with this first season. And yeah, I'm excited for season 2. Hopefully we'll get it maybe by like 2026 or something. They haven't confirmed a date for it just yet, but yeah, hopefully we'll get sooner than later. And yeah, we can continue the story that they're setting up with season 1. And we also got confirmation that a bunch of new characters are going to be showing up as well. Apparently Kamala Khan's dad is going to appear in the show, so we'll see how he factors in. Maybe it'll just be like a fun cameo or something. Maybe he's just walking by and sees like a big crime going on, or maybe he's watching something on TV and then, has this urgency to protect Kamala or something. But yeah, it'll be interesting seeing how he fits into the show. Then we got confirmation of a couple other new characters. We got confirmation that White Tiger is going to appear in the show. And I know the appearance of that character has been teased in sort of behind the scenes pictures and footage and everything like that. So it's good that we finally have that confirmation with that. And we also got confirmation that the character of Muse is going to be it as the new new villain. And I'm not really super familiar about the character, but, you know, just from the images from the comic books, it looks like he's going to be a really dark character. And, you know, it's going to be interesting seeing the infighting between Daredevil and Kingpin. And then maybe like while they're doing their own conflict, character Muse is going to have his kind of overall plan to take over the city and everything like that. So I think that'd be really interesting to see how he factors into the show as well. And also there's been an official synopsis that's been released. Apparently it's going to be about Daredevil and Kingpin seemingly teaming up in order to fight a new threat that's been brewing. So I think that'd be really interesting to do, have them have kind of like a unholy alliance, because, you know, at the end of the original Daredevil series, it seemed like they kind of this deal going on where they wouldn't expose each other for like who they really are in order to kind of like end the conflict within Hell's Kitchen. So it'd be interesting to see like how they team up and what their dynamic's going to be, and like how that tension mounts between them before they have to take on this overall threat. And apparently there was a trailer that was shown, so hopefully we get that in the next couple of weeks, you know, just to see like what the tone's going to be. And apparently it's fitting more into the Netflix tone that was established. So yeah, I'm actually really excited that, you know, going back to having this kind of creative overhaul that they had with the show, and, you know, kind of having it fit more in line with the Netflix version of Daredevil. So I think that'd be really exciting. And a bunch of people are saying that there's kind of like a comparison to the movie Heat, where in that movie there was like a lot of tension between Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and people are saying that there's a lot of tension between Matt Murdock and Kingpin. So I think that'd be really cool to see. I can definitely see the comparison between that movie and this series. So once we get the trailer released, and, you know, then everyone can see how that comparison, you know, lives up to that movie. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited about this show. I can't wait to see some trailer footage and, you know, finally get the show in March. All right, now we'll move on to Thunderbolts. And I think the biggest one is the title itself, Thunderbolts, with little asterisks at the end. And Kevin Feige's being really secretive about that, you know, suggesting that we won't find out until we see the movie. So I guess we'll see how it goes once it's actually released in May. And that's another big update with the movie, is that it was supposed to come out in July of next year, but then that got replaced by Fantastic Four, which we'll get to in a second, and got moved up to May. So I think that's cool. You know, we'll get the movie even sooner, and hopefully we'll get our theories answered as to what the little asterisks actually means. You know, people are suggesting that like maybe it'll be leading into like a dark Avengers, or it's supposed to be like a lead up to like a bigger team, or it could just be some kind of inside joke that, you know, Kevin Feige and the rest of Marvel Studios has. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know, yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, there'll be some significance to it, and that maybe it'll lead into a bigger team or something. You know, I don't think they'll do a Dark Avengers unless like maybe that's what Doomsday is going to be about, or even like Secret Wars. You know, it's going to be like the Dark Avengers versus the New Avengers. You know, they have to battle it out, and then eventually they have to realize that, you know, Doctor Doom is actually the big bad, and they have to like team up in order to defeat him and everything. But I know we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how it goes. But in other news, we found out that a writer named Joanna Kahlo has joined the project in order to rewrite the script. And I know originally it was written by another writer named Lee Sung Jin, who worked with the director Jake Schreier on Beef. So I know that they had a lot of collaboration between them. So it'd be cool to have another writer on board to, you know, polish the script a little bit to see how it goes. So I'm wondering if they also had like problems in the beginning, you know, kind of like what Captain America Brave New World was having, where, you know, Marvel had this obligation to rush all these projects out. And then now that in this year they had time to slow it down, maybe they were like editing the project together and they were realizing that stuff wasn't really working. So then they hired Joanna to come on board and just polish things up, make it more in line with continuity that they're trying to establish for the future of the MCU. So I think it's a good choice. I mean, anytime they have time to like rewrite or reshoot, make things better, is always a good choice. So yeah, we'll see how it goes with that. And then filming began later in February of this past year and then wrapped in June. Another announcement is that we have a couple of different actors from previous Marvel projects that are coming into the movie. We have Lawrence Fishburne as Bill Foster from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Rachel Weisz as Melina Vostokov from Black Widow. So I think they're really cool to have those characters within the story, you know, because I know that Bill Foster was really close with Ghost, so it makes sense that he would have some kind of father-daughter relationship there. So it'd be interesting to see how he's brought into story. And of course, Melina was, you know, the fake wife to Alexei and the fake mother to Yelena. So I'm sure she'll have some kind of cool scene involved with them as well. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Like, we'll see if they're just little cameos or if they'll actually be part of the team in some capacity. But yeah, I'm really excited to see them in the movie as well. But going back to the filming, I know that it was delayed because of the writer's strike that I was talking about earlier. And because things were so delayed, a couple of the actors had to drop out, including Steven Yeun and Ayo Edebiri. And I know that Steven Yeun was cast to play Sentry, but since he dropped out, they had to replace him with Louis Pullman from Top Gun Maverick. So I think that'd be really cool. And the fact that his character in Thunderbolts, his name is Bob, because that was his character's name in Top Gun Maverick. So I think that's a really fun connection that they have there. But yeah, apparently he's supposed to be kind of like a main villain in Thunderbolts. So maybe that's the character that all Thunderbolts are going against. So we'll see how it goes with that. You know, I know Pullman's character was kind of like the nerdy character in Top Gun Maverick. So it'd be cool seeing more of him as a villain. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And then an actress named Geraldine Wisfin Elizabeth Nathan is supposed to be playing another character named Mel, and she's supposed to be an assistant to Val's character, and apparently it's supposed to be kind of like comedic role. So I mean, which makes sense because, you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has been in so many different comedies over the time, and then she's obviously a very comedic character within all the Marvel movies that she's been in. So I think that'll be really interesting seeing that dynamic. And yeah, speaking of characters, you know, David Harbour was saying in this movie the relationship between Alexei and Yelena will be explored a little bit more. So I know we got a little bit of that in Black Widow, but it'd be cool to see more development within Thunderbolts, especially since Alexei and Yelena are going to be on the same team and they have to, you know, butt heads and, you know, eventually, you know, come together to fight, you know, Sentry and whoever other villains that they might be facing. So yeah, that totally makes sense, and I'm really excited to see more of that. And then also this past March, we got a video from Florence Pugh, kind of like a behind the scenes video of her showing off the set, you know, showing off her new Black Widow costume, you know, showing the different dailies at Video Village that Jake Shire was at. And they have this kind of fun dynamic saying like, oh, I don't know if we should be filming this stuff, but Florence is still just like filming it anyway. So I think that's really cool to see, kind of like going back to kind of like what Black Widow in Avengers Infinity War was wearing, you know, a little bit more of like a tactile suit instead of, you know, something that's like skin tight and not really practical. So I think that's definitely a good update for that character's costume. And then speaking of which, we also got some more behind the scenes footage this past June at CinemaCon, which hasn't been released to the public, so I haven't seen it. And then also at San Diego Comic-Con this past July, where they showed like a little sizzle reel of Thunderbolts, which obviously they haven't released to the public, but from what I hear, you know, it's supposed to be very like dark and intense, and, you know, definitely focuses on Elena's character dealing with trying to find a purpose in life. You know, all of her life is just about like killing people off and everything. And then she gets talked to by like Alexei, and then we kind of get introduced to these other different characters as well, you know, kind of feeling like they don't belong in the world, and then eventually, you know, coming together, you know, finding each other, and then, you know, obviously working together to fight whatever evil that they might be facing later on. So yeah, I'm hoping that this will be like a kind of redemption story for these characters, especially, you know, John Walker, because he's definitely one of my least favorite characters in Marvel. You know, I love Wyatt Russell. I think he's a great actor, but just, you know, all the actions that he's taken are, you know, very controversial, you know, especially, you know, killing a man with a shield and everything like that. So it'd be good to see the repercussions of those actions within this story, and, you know, all these different, you know, broken characters, you know, like Bucky and Ghost, and, you know, obviously Yelena and Lexi and Taskmaster, and all these different characters coming together, you know, finding redemption and then fighting this evil. Kind of like, yeah, Suicide Squad. You know, I know this is like an answer to DC Suicide Squad. So hopefully they'll get a redemption story and then, you know, eventually join the Avengers and then, you know, fight in the Secret Wars and everything like that. But yeah, I'm really excited for Thunderbolts, and I think it'd be a really cool movie. And yeah, we'll see how it ties into the larger MCU. All right, now we move on to Ironheart, and the official synopsis has been released. It's supposed to be about Riri Williams coming back to Chicago and then discovering dangerous threads that can bring danger and adventure. So I'm sure it's going to be more about the conflict that Riri has with Anthony Ramos' characters, The Hood. You know, it's supposed to be about science versus magic, butting heads and whatnot. So I think that could be really cool to explore. And yeah, speaking of which, we got more casting announcements. Alden Ehrenreich as Joe McGillicuddy, Lyric Ross as Natalie Washington, and she's supposed to be Riri's best friend, Matthew Elam as Xavier Washington, Angie White as Ronnie Williams, who's Riri's mother, Manny Montana as Cousin John, and Shay Cooley as Slug. And we also have Cree Summer and Sacha Baron Cohen in undisclosed roles, but there's rumors that Sacha Baron Cohen might be actually playing Mephisto, and maybe he'll be like a dark mentor to Anthony Ramos' character. So we'll see how that goes. I know that Mephisto's been teased since, you know, WandaVision, with like people thinking that he's going to pop up ever since then. So it'd be really funny if Marvel actually finally put him within the MCU, you know, in a live action series. So we'll see how it goes with that, and if he actually ends up being Mephisto. But yeah, hopefully he is. But, you know, I'm not super familiar with the character, so I'm not like super excited, or I don't think I'll be super disappointed if he wasn't in it. But I mean, I think it'd be really cool to have that tie-in for the people who really are excited to see him. And then back in January of this year, Dominic Thorne, who plays Riri Williams, said that filming's been officially been completed, and that additional photography happened between February and April this past year. Again, I think that's really good. You know, I know the show is supposed to come out way back in the day, but it's been kind of like pushed further and further down the schedule. It's supposed to come out sometime in 2025. So we'll see how it goes. But again, like I was saying earlier, anytime that Marvel has time to like breathe with productions and have time to like rewrite scripts or refilm scenes, I think is a good idea. So yeah, I definitely think that's good. And then in March of this year, Brad Winterbaum said that editing has begun. So I'm glad that it's finally in post-production, and that another show called Wonder Man is supposed to be editing as well. And again, I'm not familiar with Wonder Man as much, but I know it's going to be part of like the Marvel Television banner, and, you know, not within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to be kind of more of its own thing. So I think that'd be really cool. I know the actor who played Black Manta in Aquaman is supposed to be in that show, so I think that'd be really cool. So we'll see how that goes with that. Nothing's been announced with that show. But anyway, back to Ironheart. Dominic Thorne and Anthony Ramos presented the show at the Disney Upfronts back in May and confirmed that it'll be coming out in 2025. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for Ironheart. We haven't really seen too much of it, so I can't really get super excited, but I really liked her character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so I'm really excited to see a show centered around her. It's supposed to be 6 episodes, so it won't be too much of a commitment to watch, for people who, didn't respond to her character or didn't respond to the movie. But yeah, I'm excited to see more with her and excited to see her more within the Marvel Cinematic Universe once we get to Doomsday and Secret Wars. We also got some new updates for Ironheart with the D23 Expo, and apparently footage was shown, which people are describing it as kind of like a crime thriller. It's supposed to be about Riri Williams and how she was actually kicked out of MIT, probably because of all the controversy she has about being this kind of new Iron Man, so to speak, at the end of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and probably all the tension that comes with that. And then she's kind of like at a loss for everything. She's kind of independently funding her own projects and she's not getting money from MIT, and she's trying to find different ways in order to be the person she wants to be. So apparently she's supposed to be teaming up with Anthony Ramos's character, The Hood, and they're going to have somewhat of an alliance, and I'm sure The Hood's going to have like some kind of like darker motivations in order to bring Riri over to the dark side, and then Riri's going to have to somehow fight that, and then that's where their conflict's going to collide. So I'm really excited for that, and I guess it's actually been confirmed that it's supposed to come out in September of 2025. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, I guess since Fantastic Four is kind of like its own self-contained story, it doesn't really overlap with anything too much. So since Fantastic Four comes out next July, and that's supposed to be the beginning of Phase 6, and then Ironheart is supposed to come out towards the tail end of Phase 5, it'd be interesting how those two overlap, and hopefully they don't contradict each other or anything like that. So we'll see how that goes with that. And then I guess a couple images were shown as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited for Ironheart. I know like not everyone's excited for it, but like I said before, I liked Riri's character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so it'd be cool to see her own series. And again, it's only 6 episodes, so people don't have to commit too much with it. But yeah, I'm excited for the show, and hopefully we'll get a trailer soon so I can get more of an opinion on it. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, now we move on to Fantastic Four First Steps, and we have a bunch of news that came out with this one. I mean, obviously we'll just jump right into the title, Fantastic Four First Steps, which is supposed to be about space exploration and about, positivity and like a throwback to the 1960s, because with this movie it's supposed to take place within like an alternate version of the 1960s. It's not like our 1960s, because I know they've had promotional videos and promotional photos of like alternate takes on the New York skyline and everything. They had that first official photo where they announced the cast with Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Eben Moss-Backrack as Ben Grimm / The Thing. So I think those actors are amazing. We got that picture that was posted on Valentine's Day with the actors illustrated as the characters and the different kind of alternate version of the 1960s. And then we got those hints of, The Thing reading like the Life magazine with Lyndon B. Johnson on it, and like that picture of like Neil Armstrong in the background, and then the Herbie robot that was in the corner area. So yeah, they're definitely leaning more into like the 1960s version, and it's definitely been confirmed by the director Matt Shakman and by Kevin Feige that's supposed to be an alternate 1960s. And then of course we got the Comic-Con presentation of the pre-release footage of all the different actors, in character in their space suits, and then the clip of Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards on this science show with all these bored kids and everything watching him. We got another clip of Sue Storm talking about Johnny Storm, about, oh yeah, he's really single, ladies, like go after him, which is really funny. And then we got another clip of Ben Grimm on a fake TV show called Let's Make a Date. You can see his silhouette and everything as the Thing, so I think that's really cool. And then, them going up into space, and then we get a really cool shot of like Galactus, his eyes looking through a building. And then yeah, speaking of more casting announcements, in April of this past year, it was announced that Julia Gardner will be playing Shala Ball / Silver Surfer. So I think that's really cool seeing like a female version of Silver Surfer, since we got the male version in the Fantastic Four Rise of Silver Surfer way back in the day. So it'll be cool seeing more of like a female version of it. And she's supposed to be a lover of the original Silver Surfer, so we'll see if they stick with that storyline. And then in May, it was announced that Ralph Ineson will be playing Galactus, which is really cool. I've seen him in a couple fantasy things, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. I think he's a really intimidating actor. I know they were originally trying to have Javier Bardem play Galactus, which I think would have been really cool, but I know he had a lot of scheduling conflicts, so he had to drop out. So they got Ralph Ineson instead. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think he's still a good actor, and I think he'd bring a lot to the role. And then we got a couple other actors who have been cast in undisclosed roles. John Malkovich, Paul Walter Hauser, who's been rumored to be playing Mole Man, which I think would be really cool just because he kind of looks like Mole Man from the comic books, but we'll see what happens with that. And then Natasha Lyonne, and I think they're all fantastic actors, so I think they could be really, really cool, bring more credibility to Fantastic Four First Steps. And I know like John Malkovich was originally supposed to play the Vulture in the Sam Raimi version of Spider-Man 4, way back in the day, so it's cool that we're finally kind of getting him within the Marvel Universe. And then, Natasha Lyonne and Paul Walter Hauser are kind of like like crushing the television space and film space as well. So it'll be really cool to see them in this movie to whatever capacity they are, but I know they'll bring more like legitimacy and credibility to the movie. All the actors in general have been in some fantastic projects, so no pun intended. So really cool to see all these actors within this story, and yeah, just bring more, like I said, more credibility and legitimacy to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, and also Evan Moss Backrack was confirmed to be doing performance capture work for the Thing, and that Matt Chapman was, you know, doing a bunch of research of like different rocks in the desert to find the right texture for the Thing. So I'm glad that this crew like just really just cares about these characters in this project, because, you know, in the past, you know, with Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer and Four Stick, and I guess the Roger Corman version of Fantastic Four, they just never really nailed these characters in film. So I'm really excited to have, you know, this director, you know, these writers, these actors bring their passion, their love for this universe, and, you know, hopefully this will be the one that actually, you know, sticks the landing with Fantastic Four, and then we'll see more of them in Doomsday and Secret Wars. But yeah, speaking of that, it's confirmed that the 4 main characters will be appearing in those movies as well, and that Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to be playing Victor Von Doom in a post-credit scene of Fantastic Four, which is supposed to set up Doomsday and Secret Wars, but we'll get to more of that big announcement in a second. So that'll be really cool, you know, totally makes sense. You know, it'll probably be more like a Thanos scene at the end of Avengers or something, you know, like once the Fantastic Four, you know, defeat Galactus and everything at the very end, you know, this will probably be like a calling card for all these other villains within the universe of like, oh, these guys aren't to be messed with. And then, you know, maybe like Doctor Doom will have like, you know, like a turn to the camera, you know, maybe take off his mask and to reveal to be Robert Downey Jr., or we'll see how it goes. Because I know in the comic books, Dr. Doom is supposed to be scarred and everything, so it'll be interesting seeing if Robert Downey Jr. will be normal or if he'll be scarred up or whatever they do. So yeah, I'm really excited for that for sure. And also at San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced that they're going to be starting filming as soon as the Comic-Con weekend was over. So now they're currently filming, and it's supposed to last about 5 months. So I think that'd be really cool, you know, to get the release date on January 25th of next year, because I'm sure that they've already been doing like visual effects and editing it as they're going along. So I'm sure they'll be able to, you know, get it all done before the release date, and it should be really good. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited about Fantastic Four First Steps. You know, not the hugest fan of the title. I think if they just called it the Fantastic Four, it'd be fine. But I know they're trying to differentiate it from the past Fantastic Four movies. So having it be Fantastic Four First Steps, you know, makes sense. And the fact that it's supposed to be, you know, tied into optimism and space exploration and alternate 1960s, you know, totally makes sense. And yeah, we'll see how it ties into the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm sure there'll be like some time travel involved, like once they're actually, you know, brought into, you know, modern day Doomsday and Secret Wars and things like that. And, you know, how Doctor Doom factors into this version of Fantastic Four and then leads into Doomsday and Secret Wars. So yeah, we'll see how that all ties together. But I'm sure this is going to be like a very essential movie within Phase 6, and a lot's going to be, you know, set up and paid off, you know, in future films. And yeah, I'm excited to see these 4 characters within the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe and see how they tie into Doomsday and Secret Wars. And the only other update from the D23 Expo is that we got a set photo of the characters with Joseph Quinn in his Fantastic Four costume, and they're all sitting around a table, you know, eating and having a good time and stuff like that. So yeah, it just looks like a really fun time that they're having on set. You know, they've only been filming for like a couple weeks or so, so there's not really too much to show. But it is cool seeing Johnny Storm in his Fantastic Four outfit. Definitely very 60s vibe to it, with a lot of like white on it and stuff like that. So I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, I know it's still a long ways away, still a little under a year till we get that. So, and they're still filming, so we probably won't get a trailer until like probably at the end of this year or something. So I'm still patient, and yeah, hopefully as time goes on, they'll show more set photos and promotional pictures and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm still excited about it, but yeah, not really too much to update with that. All right, now we move on to Blade. There've only been a couple updates with this one. One of them is that a writer named Michael Green was hired back in November to rewrite the script. It's because I know that there's been about like 4 or 5 different writers on this project, and I know like there were rumors about there being some drafts about this being more of like a female-led story, and that Blade was kind of like sidelined to like a 4th build character, and that there was supposed to be a bunch of like life lessons in it or something. So obviously it wasn't working, so they had to fire those writers and then get this new writer involved. So I think that makes sense. But another downside is that director Yan Demange actually left the project back in June of this year just because of all the delays that have been going on, and he is actually replacing the original director Bassam Tariq, who also left the project due to creative differences. So now there's no director for Blade, but but they're still hoping to film sometime later this year, so we'll see if that actually happens. Hopefully they hire a director soon. I'm sure now that they have Michael Green working on the script, hopefully they can get a solid story going that'll attract a really good director, and that we'll finally get this on board, because we'll see how long Mahershala Ali will still stay involved. I mean, apparently Mahershala Ali and a couple of the actors are still wanting to be on the project, so we'll see how long they stay on. I know they didn't mention anything at this past San Diego Comic-Con, probably because like they just want to talk about projects that were kind of surefire bets, or projects that were in active development or filming or in post-production. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Blade, but hopefully we'll get updates on it soon, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, now we'll move on to Vision Quest. I know this hasn't been officially titled as Vision Quest, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just call it that just to make it easier instead of calling it the Untitled Vision Project. But yeah, apparently back in October of 2022, this project was in development, and that the creator of WandaVision, Jack Schaefer, was supposed to be the showrunner of it. But then back in May of this year, she decided to drop out of the project because she wanted to focus more on Agatha All Along. And they hired a new showrunner named Terry Matalas to take over the project and become showrunner for it. So I think that could be really cool. And then also Paul Bettany was confirmed back in 2022, and apparently he's still on the project, which totally makes sense since he is Vision. So yeah, I think this could be really cool. It's supposed to explore Vision regaining his memories after the events of WandaVision, where fake Vision fade away after Wanda took down the shield of Westview and then returned everybody's memories. And then White Vision regained the memories from fake Vision, and then now is trying to figure out who he was and then how he fits in the world. I know Kevin Feige was saying that he likes to wrap up different storylines and things like that, and doesn't want to kind of leave things hanging. So I think, yeah, it totally makes sense, because at the end of WandaVision, he just kind of flies up at the end of the battle between fake Vision and real Vision, and then we don't hear him ever again. So maybe this will be like a mini series or something, maybe like 6 episodes or something like that, to kind of wrap up his storyline, have him regain his memories, bring him back to the Vision that he was beforehand, and then, set him up for Doomsday and Secret Wars. And the only other update is that filming is supposed to take place at the end of this year, sometime in the fall, and that is supposed to come out in 2026. So I think that could be really cool. Like maybe it'll come out like sometime before Doomsday. Maybe it'll wrap up Vision's storyline and then set him up for Doomsday. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, and we'll sort of wrap this up with the 2 big ones, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And yeah, there's been a lot of big updates with these projects. One of them being back in November of 2023, Destin Daniel Cretton dropped out of the project to focus more on other Marvel projects, such as Shang-Chi 2, which, totally makes sense, because I love the first Shang-Chi movie, and I know a lot of people did too. And I know a lot of people have been wondering, like, when are we gonna get Shang-Chi 2? So in a way, I'm glad that he kind of stepped down from Avengers in order to focus more on Shang-Chi 2. And hopefully we'll get it sooner rather than later. I know there's different slots that Marvel's claimed to release different films, unnamed projects and stuff like that. So hopefully Shang-Chi 2 will be one of them. And that originally they're going to be written by Jeff Loveness, but he got fired from the project because he worked on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and that didn't do well. So he got fired and then got replaced by Michael Waldron, who worked on Loki Season 2 and on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And then another major update with that is that back in December of this year, Jonathan Majors was fired from Disney because he was put on trial for abusing his ex-partner, and he was let go from all these different projects, so he couldn't be King the Conqueror within Marvel Cinematic Universe, which was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because the King character hasn't really worked as well within the MCU. His first appearance in Ant-Man Quantumania, I mean, I thought he was like good in the role, but obviously he gets defeated by ants at the very end, and very kind of underwhelming end for a character. And then we kind of get like the Court of Kings, where it's just like, wait, what the heck is going on? Where there's like all these different kings going on. So when Jonathan Majors was fired, they kind of had to rewrite Loki Season 2, where they kind of like just end the King storyline in general. They kind of snip the branches, so to speak, and then Loki replaces Kang at the end of the universe, and kind of makes all these different timelines and everything more like a tree. He's kind of like the keeper of time, so to speak. And then the rest of the TVA is kind of like clipping all the branches that Kang is the conqueror and all these different timelines and stuff like that. So they kind of just wiped out that whole storyline. And then that kind of leads us into the big announcement. It's like, well, then since it's not going to be Kang Dynasty anymore, I guess we have to change it to Avengers 5. So like, who's going to be the big bad now? And there's been rumors that, Doctor Doom might be the new main villain of Avengers 5 and Secret Wars. And then lo and behold, we get to Comic-Con of this past year, and we get the whole big announcement that Robert Downey Jr. is returning as Victor Von Doom / Dr. Doom. So I think that's really cool. I know that's been met with a lot of controversy of like, okay, is he like a Tony Stark variant, or is he just playing Dr. Doom? But if he's playing Dr. Doom, it's going to be kind of confusing. Like, why does he look like Tony Stark? Like, why can't they just get new actors? And people are saying like, is Marvel just desperate, or are they geniuses, or a bit of both? Kind of like Peter Cole saying like, bit of both and everything. So yeah, I think Marvel kind of needed, something like this. And I know there's been rumors that Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans would come back into the MCU to some capacity. We saw Chris Evans come back, spoiler alert, as Johnny Storm, and then makes sense that we have Robert Downey Jr. come back as Dr. Doom for Doomsday and Secret Wars. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know, I'm happy to see Robert Downey Jr. in the role. You know, I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, maybe like Mads Mikkelsen could be Dr. Doom or something, because I know other actors within Marvel Cinematic Universe have played two different characters. So I mean, I guess it makes sense. But given the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is such an icon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Iron Man, pretty much the face of the franchise, it'd be kind of weird to see him as a brand new character. So hopefully they'll lean more towards that he's like a Tony Stark variant. You know, there's different rumors that, you know, something may have happened in his childhood, and that like his parents were killed earlier on, and then he had to move back to, you know, Latveria, and then adopted the name Von Doom. So, you know, that makes sense for him growing up to be Victor Von Doom. Or, you know, something happens later on in his life, like instead of him being brought into the cave at the first Iron Man and then being Jensen and, you know, kind of being more of a redemptive story, you know, maybe he didn't have a Jensen and he kind of broke bad in a way, and then he changed his name from Tony Stark to Victor Von Doom / Dr. Doom. So we'll see what happens with Marvel's explanation for it. You know, I know we're getting Doomsday, changed from King Dynasty to Doomsday, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more explanation within that. Like, who is Dr. Doom and why does he look like Tony Stark? So we'll see what happens with that. And the other announcement is that the Russo brothers are back to direct Doomsday and Secret Wars. And I know there's this whole backstory that the only reason why Robert Downey Jr. would come back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe is if the Russo brothers were hired back to direct the two movies. So I know that was kind of like a tie-in for that, and that they're probably gonna have a big payday for this. You know, they're gonna get $40 million for each film, plus all the back end stuff once the movie's released, and obviously it's probably gonna make $1 billion and everything. And that Robert Downey Jr. is gonna get an even bigger paycheck. He's gonna get probably $100 million for both films and everything. So, you know, good for him for all that. You know, definitely deserves it after winning the Oscar for Oppenheimer. So now he kind of has a little bit more say in the projects that he wants to do and kind of like the demands that he has for his contract. So, you know, totally makes sense. And then also Stephen McFeely has been brought back to write both movies, replacing Michael Waldron. So that was probably one of the deals of why he was replaced. But it's too bad that Christopher Marcus isn't also involved in writing the films as well, at least as far as we know, because I know that Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely have been writing a bunch of Marvel movies together. So it's interesting seeing just Stephen McFeely work on this, but I'm sure, you know, he can handle it on his own, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, overall, I'm excited for both movies, and, you know, I'm glad to see Robert Downey Jr. back within the MCU. You know, we'll see how he's brought back in the MCU, and we'll see, you know, kind of how Marvel treats his return to it. Is it going to be a Tony Stark variant, or is it going to be playing a completely different character? We'll see what happens, but I'm sure like as time will go on, you know, people will process it more and, you know, be more commonplace. But yeah, for now, I know it's still very controversial, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And filming is supposed to take place within the second quarter of 2025 in London, so I'm glad they have a plan for when they start filming it. I'm sure probably like Infinity War and Endgame probably take like a year or so, so they'll give them plenty of time for post-production work and then make the films just as good as possible to kind of wrap up this multiverse saga, and yeah, just make it the best finale that it can be. And that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. What are you most excited about for Marvel Phase 5 and Marvel Phase 6? What's your most anticipated movie? What character are you excited about seeing? Be sure to leave it in the comments below. Give this video a like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Avengers, assemble.